Hey there, so in this video we're going to focus on making our final Rhino files for project 3. So first thing we want to do is open Rhino and always check your units. Alright, if you're planning to work in the same file as your initial outlined Rhino extrusion model, totally fine. I'm just gonna, work in a different file because I don't have my own model. Um, but yes, the choice is yours. So my precision, gonna make it maybe 164, but that's fine. All right, so I'm just gonna catch up to what you all should have, which is your general layout. I'm gonna turn on my grid snap. Again, we know that our physical models are 8 inches by 24 inches. All right, and the real scale that equates to 64 feet by 192 feet. And then layer by layer, um, just like before, we're going to trace our drawings. The only difference this time is that we're learning from our final models, and this is going to be more of a constructed drawing rather than a photo trace drawing. So we're focusing on what we truly wanted to make. So a lot of you have curves in this. So rather than polyline, which is what we, made most of our shapes out of the last time, and then we had some really rigid edges, this time we're going to make some curves. So if your intention was for something to be nice and curvy, but you weren't capturing it in your previous Rhino model, now is the time to do that. So again, rather than polyline, I'm going to type in the command curve, and you're going to pick your start point, and you're just going to go around the board. You can turn off your grid snaps or, if you don't think you need them. And then you're just going to make multiple clicks to the edges, outlining, what you wanted your polyline to capture the first time around. All right, this is also where we're going to focus on the decisions that we made for circulation and other elements that were derived from our previous abstraction drawings. Okay, as you know, um, we'll just hop in the Miro board really quickly. I'll make sure you're in project 3. Just jump to project 2. All right, and some of you see if there's a model I could pull. Yeah, so if there was something that you wanted to be curved, um, you would just capture that with these curve commands. All right, so back to it. Um, the major difference here is that when you make this one solid polyline, um, or one solid object, you are still going to have to type in a polyline tool to close the corner off because you can't make the clean corners with the curve tool. But that's fine. This one, it's planar, so I can just type in close curve and that'll close it right up. Just make sure you're snapped to the perimeter. This one, again, because I'm in a corner, I need to click a polyline and then join to a polyline. Okay? So now once you click those two shapes and you go to the color wheel for the settings, you can see that the type is two closed curves. That's exactly what we need to make our extrusions. So I'm just going to make a bunch of random shapes and I'll make my drawings based on that. Again, all of you should have models and drawings that relate to your initial, photograph that you used for the fashion. And, maybe this, let me just start this part. Mm, yeah, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. So some of you actually capture a huge section as your base model. So let's say that this is one of my base models. All right, now one of my base layers, I mean. All right, take this, take that, join. right? And maybe I have some recesses in here. Maybe there's a pond. Just typed in curve, and now I have a nice smooth opening in that plane. Okay? And you just continue around, just like before. Maybe I have another object going on over here. And the fun thing about curves is that, you get to make some very interesting shapes, and you'll learn that when you're making these curves, these control points have a lot of influence on the object. So, for example, if I were to delete this point, completely changes the curve. All right, so, you'll get better with curves as you use them, more often. Try not to get too frustrated if it doesn't match um, your drawing or your foam model perfectly. This is really an abstracted landscape, right? It's not meant to be very perfect. All right, again, you're just watching me draw a bunch of curves. Um, all right, polyline, close that up. Okay, now if I don't see enough, volume in this curve, I can just modify these points. So if I want to see a little bit more movement here or there, again, if it's influenced by your drawings, nothing that we do um, should be just because we feel like doing it. Like there has to be some type of inspiration. All right, let's just draw another one. Close curve. And maybe I have a bridge going from here to here. So, okay. And let's close it off with polyline, capture that corner, join, and let's just say that's done. All right, so now I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to elevate it just like, we did first time around. I know that this red layer is going to go up 1 inch. This purple layer will go up 2 inches. And this next layer is going to go up 3 inches. Right, and we know that our base has its own extrusion. So I'm just going to point this in the downward direction. Make sure that you're in the right layer when you're doing these extrusions. Make sure that it's a solid. All right, so now I'm on my red layer. For this one, because I have a pond inside the surface, what I'm going to do is planar surface first. This way it just creates that opening. So again, that's planar surface. So PLANAR SRF. All right, so now I'm going to offset surface, or I can do extrude surface. I'll just do extrude surface, make sure that it is a solid, bring it down, and now that's a nice extruded pond. Okay, so I'm going to just extrude this other one like a normal curve, bring that down, and my red layer is done. Moving on to my purple layer. 1, 2, nope, not that one. Control for deselect. Oh, and I missed one. All right. So let's just say that these are my layers. Now, I know a lot of you are starting to reduce the scale of each of your foam layers, and that's just because of, logistics. And I think that makes a lot of sense. So, for example, this bridge and this top tier, maybe I only want them to be 4 feet tall in reality. So what I'm going to do is scale it 1D. Oh, I just scaled 2D, so scale 1D. And I'm gonna pick a base, pick a height, and I can type in a 1/2 inch or I could click the midpoint right here. So again, we know that we're working in a scale model. So this is how it works. All right, so you saw that. Okay, I don't want to delete these curves. So now we have our curves, we have our solid objects, but a lot of you have interior spaces carved into this. And one way that you can draw this is, you could go back over here in the initial plan view and you can draw your openings. So if I have a section right here, a little cave underneath this, I can very easily offset this curve and I'll go inbound and I can offset it, a minimum of 1/8 of an inch. Maybe I'll just do it 1/4 for this demonstration. And what I'm going to do is explode that. So you can type explode, or you can use the roller button on your mouse to press the explode icon. And I'm going to basically just extrude this inner curve to the perimeter. All right, so I'm going to select my perimeter curve, type in extrude curve, extend, that is the keyword, and click the curve that you would like to extend. Okay, so now I have this inner opening, and what I'm going to do is duplicate this base piece. So copy, and then you could do control copy, and then I'm just going to paste it. So you can do paste just like that and it goes automatically paste in place. But now I have multiple of the same ones, so I just need to delete the ones that I don't need. And then I'm going to I could do a couple of things. I could just leave it like this, or I really feel like I want to have a little boundary here. So I think I'm going to close this off. This way it relates to some of your other projects. All right, and I'll just go parallel this one and this one. We'll do select trim. All right, and then we'll join that. Now this duplicate, I'm going to explode and I'm going to deselect this piece. Select this one I just drew, type in join, and then close curve. And now I have a controlled interior wall. All right. When I extrude this layer, note that this should actually be on the red layer. I'm just gonna right click, change object to layer. I'm gonna move this one over from here to here, and I can extrude curve vertically. Again, please make sure you're in the right layer, not like me. And then what I'm gonna do is split this base object, select my new cutting object, and now I have a cut nicely embedded into my landscape. Okay. Some of you are also, you're going multiple layers in some cases. So what you might want to do again is make sure that all of your openings, if you want them to have some type of cover from the landscape, make sure that all the lines that you draw have a little hood over them. So I can do the same steps basically, but when I bring it upwards, I'm returning it a little bit sooner so that it terminates at the edge of the blue ridge line. All right, so I'm going to start off with this base again, but now I'm going to add a curve that joins this curve to the edge here. All right, now that's going to be my new boundary. I'm going to offset that the distance I'd like, just like we did before. And now these guys are going to be trimmed. Okay, so now this is my new opening. What I'm going to do is explode this, join these, and then extend it to the edge of my site. All right. So once I have this, once I have that, I'm going to select it. I'm going to duplicate this piece again, and it might be easier to just work outside of that so you don't accidentally delete it. And this line from my new cut is going to trim the boundaries here. It's going to do that same thing right there. And now I can join this, copy it, and line it up right there. So I'm typing in select last. This way I can extrude upwards. See the previous thing I selected. Extrude curve, make sure I'm in the right layer. It looks like I have some intersecting curves, which is interesting. We're going to see if it causes any issues. All right, so it looks like that is going to cause some issues. So what I need to do is figure out which lines I have here are overlapping. So I'm going to explode. I think that was probably the problem. Let's see, join. I want to close curve and want to open curve. Let's see. We're going to explode this again. And step by step, we're going to close this up. So join, join. All right, let's forget about these pieces. I know that this should be planar, so, and then close curve. Excellent. So now it's a perfectly clean closed curve. You'll notice, it's very easy to get into those things. But that's all right. There's always a way out. So again, I'm selecting last, zoom selected, extrude curve, bring it up to the bottom of my little bridge. And now this extrusion is going to cut this level. So I'm going to select the level that I want to cut, type in split, select my cutting objects, right click, and now delete that segment that I deleted, that I no longer need. All right, I also don't need that surface anymore because we already made our extrusion. So now you see I have a double-heighted space right inside of here. All right, the next step would be to cut an opening to access this space. So that's something that you can do with a simple box. And just like, our very first project where we did Boolean differences and Boolean unions, we're going to use exactly those same tools. So for my door opening, I'm going to make it a 4-foot wide opening. Or maybe I should make it a 6-foot wide opening. I'll make it a 4-foot wide opening, a 1/2 inch. So let's make it a 1/2 inch square. So 0.5, 0.5, and then I'm gonna just make it the full 1 inch, just for clarity. All right. Just gonna extrude it a little bit. Wherever I know I want the doorway to be, I'm just gonna lay it in place. And I am going to simply select the objects I'd like to cut, which is both of these. So perhaps you want to do a Boolean union first. All right, so is this object open or closed? Because I think I'm having some issues. All right, so it's open, so I need to cap that a bit. Let's isolate that because it looks like we're having some issues. Okay, so it doesn't want to cap this curve, so all I'm going to do is dupe edge, select that curve, extrude curve vertically. All right, now I'm going to select that surface, and type in join. All right, and now it is a closed solid poly surface. So we can ditch this piece and bring this new one in. All right, and it looks like something else happened when we were inside of this piece. We exploded it apparently, and that is okay. We're just going to join it and see what parts are missing. So again, I'm just going to pull it to the side, figure out what's wrong with the object. I can see here that it was an extrusion situation. So again, I'm going to just dupe edge, select that curve, extrude curve, bring it on down, select the objects, join them, and we're going to do the same thing with the inner curve, dupe edge, and dupe edge, we're just making an inner copy. All right, we're going to select that, join, extrude curve, bring it down here, and we're just going to join everything. All right, so now let's see, what do we have? We have closed solid poly surface, and that's exactly what we wanted. So we're going to bring it back into the object and delete our scraps. All right, or we could just do that now. Just start from scrap. We'll leave this piece. All right, now we know what belongs here. We know this belongs here and that belongs here. So one by one, we're going to move our poly surfaces back to where they belong. All right, and now we're going to Boolean union, make them one solid piece. And then what we're going to do is make our door again because I accidentally deleted it. So again, we're doing box. And you can make it wider than 4 feet if you wanted to. You can make it a full 8-foot wide opening. I'm just gonna, again, stick with my 4-foot wide box, which is a 1/2 inch. And extrude it the full 8 feet or, 1 inch. Gonna move the center of this opening here, and I'll bring my doorway inbound another 4 feet. Oh, sugar. Bring it down, bring it back another 0.5 inches. All right, so again, sometimes it's complicated when you're working in different scales, but some of your computers might not be able to handle making multiple versions of this in the full scale model. So this is just one way to alleviate that pressure. All right, so now I know I want to cut my openings, so I'm going to take my Boolean union, and again, I'm going to split it. All right, and this time I'm going to split it with my doorway. And now I'm going to delete that door, cap this, and now I have a doorway to that space. It could be a doorway, a window, whatever you'd like. And now that's a solid opening. All right, this is the same way that we're going to cut our circulation routes for those of you that have, cuts through your site that you need to make. So if this was not a pond tier and this was just like an open atrium, I might want to cut another path of travel to get into this space. So maybe what I do is carve an opening right here. Or maybe I want to make another level on top of this to cap it. There's so many different ways that we can, get something like this resolved. And it's same procedure. Make a box, make sure you trim it, and move on. Another good spot to add a hollowed out space would be right in here. Maybe we'll just make a general box for the sake of a video that might be too long. And And so I'm going to Boolean difference, subtract that box, and now I have a clean cut corner that I can fit some people in. If I want to enter this space from one of these little branches, what do? I make another box. Hold on, that box was apparently too big. The boxes that we create, sometimes they don't look as nice if they go beyond the curves. So definitely use your, judgment. Let's see. I think that's a much more appropriate scale, actually. Okay. All right. So now, again, I'm going to repeat Boolean difference. So type in Boolean difference, the object you're cutting, then cutting with. And again, I have my opening. I'm going to make a box for my doorway. And this time the passageway is going to be cut a little bit, longer. So again, I'm going to do 4 feet because it's a 1/2 inch, pretty straightforward. Height is 8 feet. I'll rotate it a little bit. I can rotate it with the gumball tool, or I can rotate it with the rotate command. And scale 1D, start point, end point, through the site. And I just need to do Boolean split. Select my cutting tool. Get rid of that poly surface, get rid of this one. And now I have an opening into that room. Okay, one thing I noticed is that I ended up having this extra little skylight. If you want to leave little things like that, just make sure that it matches your drawings. It's not like a little mistake like I just did. Totally fine if it exists as long as it relates to your drawings and your abstractions and your general argument for this project. All right, if I wanted to make just one more opening inside the space, I can do that right in here. I'll just do the one layer first. So again, select object, type in Boolean difference, click the object that's cutting. Now I have an open space. All right, if I wanted a passageway to get here, what do? We make some more boxes. And, that's one way. Some of you I actually know are making your circulation routes with curves. So we can work that out very quickly as well. So if I'm, gonna cut a curve on a surface, type in the curve tool, pick your starting points, and maybe this is I'm gonna offset this curve, 4 feet, sugar. By 4 feet, I meant a 1/2 inch. All right, and all I need to do is make sure that cuts through, which it does. I'm going to draw a line connecting the 2 points so that this can be nicely joined. All right, then I'm going to close curve, extrude the curve downwards. And again, we're just going to do a split. So select your poly surface, type in split. Splitting object is right here. And it looks like it kind of rejected my split. So what I'm going to do is scale this a little bit taller to make sure that it fully cuts through this site. Okay, so, oh, that looks like it actually worked. I just want to be safe. So whatever you know is going to be a cutting tool, feel free to just make it a little bit taller to make sure the action takes place. So again, I'm going to do split, not accidentally delete it, type in split, select my cutting objects, right click, get rid of that, get rid of this. I have a nice little opening. I'm going to dupe edge, Right there, extrude curve. Bring it down here. Simply join. Okay. Same thing here. We're going to dupe our edge. Get rid of this little curve. Dupe edge. Select curve. Extrude curve. Select that surface. Select the other surface. Type in join. And let's see, it says that it still is an open poly surface, so we just need to figure out where it's open. Maybe we could type cap. Cap is not working. This one is closed. This one is open. So it looks like our extrusion did not work. And that's okay. Sometimes it does not. The only challenge is figuring out if it's going to affect the rest of your model or not. So let's get rid of that top curve. And what I'm going to do is just pull this over to the side. Explode that. I'm going to dupe face border. So I have a full outline again, just like our original drawing. I'm going to select all of these curves right here, the ones that I know that I need to extrude. And I imagine this little section is the one that I was missing. So I'm going to join that. And our choices are, you can take this, actually join it. Let's do planar surface again. Extrude surface, 1 inch. Make sure that this extrusion that we just made is in the correct layer. Right click, change object layer. Select this object, base piece, and move it on over. All right, so we're gonna keep this closed solid poly surface, but we're gonna get rid of the open poly surface. All right, and that's that for modeling my site. So I'll end this video now so that we don't have too long of a video. And then we're gonna go into documenting this site that we just created, making our plan drawings, our site plan drawings, our circulation drawings, the building sections or the landscape sections, and so on. Alrighty, thank you so much.